everybody. Welcome to the Next Level Franchise Group Lounge. As you're coming in, grab your pen and paper and water and put in the chat. Let us know where you're connecting in from. We'll give everybody a minute to come on and get situated. We'll be starting very soon. We're glad you're here. Put in the chat where you guys are connecting in from. We always tend to have people from all over the United States. We've got Jarul from Cleveland, Ohio. Who else is with us today? Welcome. Oh, we've got Arizona. I knew it. I knew we had the whole United States with us here today. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to two exciting words that you may be able to say in a business that might be all yours, and that is you're hired. We're going to be talking about how staffing is making the world a better place and how you can own a business that makes it happen. I'm Stacy Riska, and I'm joined today by my husband, Dave Riska. We're with Next Level Franchise Group. People call us kind of expert franchise matchmakers, but our real special guest today is Bill Thompson with Express Employment Professionals. And I think by the end of today's session, you guys will nickname him the Energizer Bunny. That's what I call him. So let's go ahead and get started. Did you guys know that there are more than 3 million temporary and contract workers who go into work every week in America's offices, factories, healthcare facilities, warehouses, IT firms, law firms, and other job sites? 3 million. And you may be thinking, my gosh, why are there so many of these temporary and contract workers today? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you. The reality is that not everybody wants a full-time job. A lot of the people that we even talk to, they're looking for work-life balance. They are sick of the exceedingly long hours of the corporate hustle or the corporate grind. And more importantly, they want to do work that's important. Maybe you can relate. You see, these workers, they're looking for temporary and contract work. And we have businesses that are so desperately needing these workers. Well, what if you could be the conduit that brings it all together in a business that's all yours? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today with Express Employment Professionals, the #1 staffing franchise for the past 10 years. And you're going to learn about how you can own a business that makes an impact, serves the community, puts people to work, and no experience required. So I'd like to get a sense of who we have here with us today. Every time we do these events, yes, we have people all over the United States, but let's get a sense of what are you doing out there? So I'm going to put a poll up on the screen. And the first question I'm curious about is, what is your current work status? Are you working full-time, part-time? Are you doing contract or gig work? Maybe you're #open to work, you're not currently working, or you're retired. And so let us know what your current status is. Jarul says contract. Okay, great. I'm going to close this poll down in 3, 2, 1. So most of you, 60% of you, are working full-time. And that's not surprising. Most of the people who we end up speaking with looking for a business are looking actually to transition out of a full-time job into a business that might be their own. But irregardless of which box you checked here, I think you're going to be very excited about what you learned today. Let me ask another question of you. When it comes to having a business that's all your own, what is your why? There's so many reasons that the candidates we talk to want to own a business. There's freedom, flexibility, work-life balance. They want to make an impact. They want to support their community. They want to build wealth or legacy. What's your reason for wanting to own a business? Curious to know. I'm going to close this down in 3, 2, 1. All right, our answers are all over the board here. Freedom and flexibility always seem to top the list. Doing something I love and enjoy and supporting my community. Bill, are you paying attention? I think you're going to be able to check all the boxes there. All right, fantastic. And one more question for you guys. Since today we are talking about staffing, I'm curious, have you ever worked with a staffing agency yourself? Are you familiar with the type of work that they do? Yes or no? I'm going to close that down. 3, 2, 1. 100%. All right, Bill. So the people here, they have a little bit of an understanding of what a staffing agency does. Great. Thank you so much for sharing, everybody. Whoop, I'm a little bit too far here. Okay, so let me share. Thank you for sharing about yourself. I would like to take a moment and share a little bit about this dynamic duo on the screen, Dave and Stacy Risco. We actually have been married more than 30 years, yes, happily, and working together more than 20. And we've been down all of the paths that can take you from employee to entrepreneur. We both had a 9-to-5 job for 10 years. Then we got the entrepreneurial itch and decided we wanted to start a business from scratch. So we started doing outsourcing work for associations and nonprofits, and it grew so quickly that we actually ended up buying 2 more businesses along the way. And after 10 years of doing that, we sold that business for a handsome profit. And then we were kind of thinking, well, what's next? And the light bulb went off. Franchise, a proven system. But which one? We had no idea. Well, luckily for us, we ended up working with somebody who does what we do today and matched us to a Hawaiian-themed coffee smoothie business, which we still own today, 16 years later. And ever since day one, we have always been the #1 franchisee in that system for 16 years. So people will reach out to us and say, Stacy and Dave, how have you been the #1 franchisee for so many years? And the answer, well, it's really twofold. One is marketing. You've got to do marketing to grow and scale a business. But second, and maybe more important, was that the franchise was a great match. It was a great fit for us, our why, and our goals. And so I want you to keep that in mind as you're thinking about what your next may be. And that's why today, Dave and I, we love helping aspiring business owners explore business ownership. And if it makes sense for them, we match you to concepts that could be a great fit. You can kind of think of us like a realtor for franchises. A realtor helps you find your dream home. We help you find your dream business. We know you're going to be excited about what you learn here today. Now, when we mention franchising, I always see a lot of rolled eyes. Oh, franchising, I don't want to learn about franchising. I already know about franchising. Well, let's see how much you really know. I'm going to put some questions up on the screen, and we will see how much you really know about franchising. So question number 1, how many franchises, if you were to look at concepts, how many different ones do you think are options in the United States today? 125, 450, 1,700, 4,000. How many different franchise concepts do you think that there are out there that you could possibly look at? All right, I'm going to close this down in 3, 2, 1. Interesting. So answers all over the board, but only 2 of you got it right. The answer is 4,000. There are more than 4,000 franchise concepts that you could possibly look at today. Next question. Now that you know there's 4,000 franchises, how many different categories do you think that represents? People think of franchising as fast food and French fries, but how many different businesses, different business categories do you think franchising represents? Go ahead and answer. I'm going to close this down in 3, 2, 1. We have answers all over the board again. The correct answer, only one of you got it, is 90. There are more than 90 different business categories of franchising. Pretty incredible, right? You don't think about it when you're driving down the road. Many of those businesses that you're looking at are likely franchises. And if you can think of a concept for it, there is likely a franchise. And the one we're going to be learning about today is the staffing industry. One more question for you guys. Now you know there's 4,000 different franchise categories and 90 different 4,000 franchise concepts and 90 categories. How many individual franchise units do you think are open today? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I'm going to close it down in 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're getting better now. There are more than 900,000 franchises open today. Think about that, 900,000 franchise units. So you can see how big an industry and how important this is to the US economy. 4,000 franchise concepts, 90 categories, 900,000 units open, and think about how many people that employs, actually over 8 million. So I'm curious, did anybody get 100% on the quiz? Well, we're going to keep going. I think Dave has some questions for you next. Dave, you're up.
Thank you. This is Dave Riska. I want to first off thank everybody for joining us today to learn a little bit more about franchising and in particular, Express Performance Professionals, which you'll learn more about shortly. But before we do, we got some more quiz for you. So what I want you to do is it's a little different. In the chat, I want you to put the answer of myth or fact after I read each of these statements. So I'm going to read the statement and you'll put in the chat whether you think it's a myth or a fact. You need a lot of money to buy a franchise. So what do you guys think? Is that a myth or is that a fact? Okay,
BJ
fact.
says fact. John Rule says
myth.
myth. Stephanie, myth.
Myth,
So we
fact.
have a mixture.
Ooh,
Some
yeah,
myths
they're all
and
over
facts.
the place. All right, Stacy. 3, 2, 1.
I'm having
Technical difficulties. That is actually, I'll call it somewhat a myth. It's a myth. There are so many franchises out there today. As Stacey mentioned, there's 4,000 different categories of franchises out there today. Things like emerging brands, work from home brands, and particularly brands that offer unique promotions to get you started in business that in most cases, do you need a lot of money to start or buy a franchise? So let's go to number 2. Number 2, myth or fact? You put this in the chat. You can use your 401k as a funding source when buying a franchise.
What do you guys think?
I think you can.
Fact, fact, fact. A lot of people think that's true, Dave.
Well, 3, 2, 1. They are correct. That is a fact. Today, there are special programs where you can use your 401k money to actually set up a business. So that is a fact.
Okay, I think we have one more, right?
Yep, one last one, myth or fact? Franchises do not provide work-life balance because they are open 7 days a week. So
Oh,
what do you
that's-
think, myth or fact? Lots of myths.
Mm.
All right. What do we think? That is true, that, or I should say that is a myth. There are so many franchises out there today that allow for part-time and work as you want type of basis, that no longer are franchises just a traditional restaurant that's open 7 days a week.
Great.
Back
So hopefully you guys got a mini MBA on franchise and business ownership. Now I'm going to actually have Bill Thompson from Express Employment Professionals share the information on this amazing opportunity with you today. Bill, are you ready?
I am ready. All right. Well, let me get my my screen set up here. Give me 1 second.
There we go. You got it.
Okay. All right. You're seeing that good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Excellent. My apologies. Thank you very much. All right. And I have my tech expert here who helped me through here, Zach. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. I think I can take it from here. Thank you. All right. All right, fellas. Hey, thank you so much for this opportunity, Stacy and Dave. I am so excited to be able to share with you guys what we have going on at Express. Now, for all of you viewers out there, probably when you were growing up as a child, your dreams and aspirations were not to own a staffing franchise. Let's just be honest, okay? But when I get through with this, I think that you're going to see that this is the most amazing opportunity that you've seen in a long time. If you're looking for something that's lucrative, but yet at the same time where you can genuinely help people improve their lives on a daily basis, this could be for you. So I am excited to share with you a little bit of information here. So let's start first by talking a little bit about the where we are as a franchise. So one thing I'd like to highlight here is how many of you have ever seen, and you don't have to answer me in the chat, but just ask yourself, have you ever looked at the Franchise 500 on entrepreneur.com? Every year, Entrepreneur picks the top 500 concepts, franchises in North America. They rank them in the top 500, and then they display them on a yearly basis. I am excited to say that Express Employment Professionals has consistently been the #1 ranked staffing franchisor in North America for Entrepreneur for a number of years. But this year is a special year. We have actually, out of all of the concepts out there, whether it's staffing or restaurants or hotels or whatever type of McDonald's, whatever type of franchise you can think of, we have just been ranked number 25 out of all of the franchisors in North America. So we're super excited about that. It was a jump from number 56 last year, and we hit the top 25. So we're in the same realm as KFC, Great Clips, you name it, just all the top things, hotels, restaurants, and then there's like 2 services organizations, and we're one of them. So I am super excited to be sharing with you some information. Let's start out with the industry. So as you can see, the staffing industry is a big business. We've seen a lot of growth, as you can see, and you'll notice in 2020, there was a little dip there, and I think we all know why. When the business world went on pause, everyone dropped a little bit, and we were no exception to that. But look how quickly we rebounded. Look at 2021 as an industry. Now, Canada was a little bit slower. You know, they have a little bit a different economy up there, but they still recovered quickly. But look at the US, from 136 billion to 177 billion, way beyond 2019. And we are on projection pace to reach $185 billion this year. So very exciting things. And the real exciting thing to me is that if you look at it from a macro standpoint, if you look at it from Europe and other parts of the country, they're doing about double what we're doing in staffing. So the projections are that we're going to catch up with Europe and other parts of the world one of these days. And that's exciting to see as well. All right, well, Express as a company is also a big business. So we have grown to over 880 franchise locations. A majority of them are all here in the US, but we do have offices in Canada, South Africa, and then we've recently gone into New Zealand and Australia. So we've increased about 30 or 40 just from that expansion. 586,000 people are employed annually. We did $4.1 billion in annual sales. And let me just put it in perspective. In 2020, we did 3.1 billion. And this past year in 2021, 4.1 billion. So do the math. We grew $1 billion as a company in 1 year. As a company record, we have hit back-to-back $1 billion quarters, which is a company record. And we're in the best financial position we've ever been in our 38 years as a business. So pretty exciting stuff there. So let's talk a little bit about what we do. So there are really three major service lines, but you can add a fourth with HR consulting, and I'll cover that a little bit. But three major areas that we do a lot of, and that's number one, temporary staffing. So what's an example of temporary staffing? Well, that would be maternity leave, where there's a definite start date and a definite end date for that position. We do a lot of that. We also do a lot of evaluation hire, or otherwise known as eval to hire or temp to hire. And that's where a client will take on one of our associates for a temporary probationary period, test them out, see if they like them, and then hire them on as their full-time employee. We do a lot of evaluation hire. I would say between temporary staffing and evaluation hire, it's probably about 75% of what we do. The third is direct hire. And that's like a headhunter. If you've heard of the old days, the headhunters of the past, going out and finding that full-time person for a company, getting a large flat fee. That's also what we do as well. And that's a little bit of a lower percentage, but it's very, very good because the more you grow, our goal as a franchisor is to help you diversify over time. And so we want you to eventually move into direct hire, have a division for that, and grow that area. Now, the fourth service line that I like to add that's also a value add for the customer is we can also do a lot of HR advice, I would probably put it, where if there's any advice that a client needs for a franchisee, headquarters can come in and provide that. So it really acts as a value add and helps get the foot in the door for our franchisees. All right, so what it takes. This is the exciting part. Somehow, Express Employment Professionals is beating inflation. I don't know how. But last year, it was a minimum $150,000 investment. Somehow we've lowered it. So now we have a minimum investment of $140,000 to $220,000, depending upon what type of office you open. But our basic core model is $140,000. And $100 to $180,000 of that is working capital. And then along with that, a $40,000 franchise fee. Now, the exciting thing that we would like to present to you is that with that $40,000, if you sign on then and complete training, we will give you $25,000 of that $40,000 back. I don't really know of any other concept that does that, but we're doing it. And something that absolutely I can guarantee you no other concept is doing right now. 99.9% sure. I never like to assume. But for these select markets, and take a really good look at this screen, if you are in any of these areas, we are going to wipe out the entire $40,000 franchise fee for you. So take a really good look at that. And if you didn't, if I'm going to move on, but if you don't get a good snapshot of this, if you have any questions or would like to know, just ask Stacy and Dave, and they can connect you on that. All right, let's keep moving. So you can see that when you start out as an Express franchisee, your first year, you're going to hit in year one somewhere around $950,000 in revenue. Now, watch how this scales. In year two, the average revenue increases to over $2.68 or $2.64 million. Now, check out this staggering percentage. So look at the increase here. Over $6.7 million on average that an average producer, this is an average Joe producer, is going to generate that's open 5 years or longer. So just kind of take a look at that and just think, okay, if this is what the average person is doing, what could you be producing out of this? Okay, here is who we are looking for. If you match any of these, then we would love to talk to you. You don't have to, we prefer you to have every one of these, and I think it's probably important. So we would love for you to be an active owner, 100% owner, 100% focus and express. That is our goal, because if you do that, that's how you're going to generate those numbers that I just showed you and hopefully beyond. We want the person to be sales savvy. Now, that does not mean that you have to have a sales background. For example, we have a CPA in our system that we actually rejected 3 times because we didn't think he would do the sales, but he kept coming back. And now out of our 880 plus offices, he is consistently in our top 3. He hates sales, but he does 2 things very well. Number one, he follows our model and he does not stray from our model. We have a 38-year-old proven model that if you just follow the model, it's proven that you will be successful and you will experience success. So he doesn't waver from that. He also knows how to hold his team accountable. And you can train that and you can teach that. It's definitely something that anyone can hold their team accountable. But he does those 2 things, and he makes sure that everything is functioning in regards to the model being followed. And as a result, he's seen great things. So you don't necessarily have to have a sales background. Now, does it help if you have a sales background? Well, it does to a degree that if when you're starting out, this is an aggressive B2B sales model. So you will be making cold calls, warm calls. You'll be networking, going to events, social media, all the different types of things that we do to grow our business. But it is a sales model. So it would help if you had that sales background, but not necessary. Okay, this is the big one. It doesn't matter if you're a regional sales manager or an engineer. We don't care, as long as you're a great communicator. As long as you have good phone skills, as long as you can communicate to any type of person. It could be the entry-level person or a CFO or CEO of an organization. It's important that you're able to communicate with all types of people. And that's a key thing that we're looking for. So great communicator. The next is professional. Professional kind of goes along with a great communicator. You know, if you've gotten a certain level of education or a certain level of experience in the business world, it does help to be relatable and to be professional, because you're going to be speaking to business owners and really all types of people. You know, one thing I like to share with people, they look at this and they go, I don't know anything about staffing. Well, that's okay. That's all right. Just look at staffing as it's like a regular product off the shelf, except it just happens to be a person. So this is something that anyone can do, and we actually prefer if you don't have staffing experience. I mean, we welcome you if you do, but we're totally geared towards working with like a mid-level manager or someone who is outside of the staffing industry, training them, equipping them, supporting them, putting a whole army of support behind them to be successful. Now, this next one is also very important. You know, we know that people on here are entrepreneurs, and we love entrepreneurs. And we want you to be entrepreneurial enough to want to own your own business, but yet we want you to be coachable. Now, sometimes I'm talking to some people who are entrepreneurs, and I tell them, you know, you probably just need to open your own business somewhere. I would never say that to one of Stacy and Dave's people, though. I would always send them back to Stacy and Dave. But if I'm working with a website lead, I may be saying, hey, you know, if you're not willing to kind of follow our process, may not be the right fit for you. The good news is that we're looking for people who don't want to recreate the wheel. If you want something that's proven and just get in there and just be successful very quickly, then this is your concept. And then finally, we like someone to have a big ambition. We want someone to exceed that $6.7 million in sales and continue to rise higher. You'll see in our franchise disclosure document that we have certain folks who are producing way higher than this number. There's a gentleman, I believe he's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He's producing well over $30 million in just one unit. So the cool thing about this concept that I love, two things, is one, you can scale incredibly with one unit. You don't have to buy 3 or 4 units to generate the revenue that just one express unit could bring. That's exciting to me. The other exciting thing is that your fixed costs stay pretty much the same. But you know, if you're increasing your expenses, it may be an additional 1 or 2 people on your payroll, but you can generate massive amounts of revenue through just one unit. And that's really exciting. Our largest office that produced way above the numbers you're seeing here, it's been several years, only had 4 people in the office, if you can believe that. Now, I would say that's a little bit beyond the average. He managed in a certain particular way, but a majority of the people who are generating these kind of numbers probably have 6 to 8 employees. So really not a lot of overhead, and your fixed costs are low, and you can just absolutely crush it somewhere with, of course, with our support. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about our support. So as the franchisor, our goal is to help you take care of all of that back office stuff so you can focus on growing your business. Staffing is a highly regulated industry. And we have over 300 people at our corporate headquarters here in Oklahoma City. As you can tell, I'm from the South. We all speak this way down here. I'm probably not from your neck of the woods, but all of our people here, our assistant centers here, our tech, IT, everything is right here in our Oklahoma City headquarters. And on top of that, we also have over 50 developers or field support reps who are out in the field supporting our franchisees on the local level, typically within driving distance of your office. So massive amounts of support. So let's talk about back office support. So we handle all of your receivables. We would process all of your payroll. We would manage the workers' comp, which is huge in this industry. It's a huge pain. If you've been a business owner, you know what workers' comp is like, especially if you've ever owned a independent staffing agency. It just takes up all your time. So we handle that for you. We handle unemployment. That's a big thing, especially in this industry. And whether it's IT or legal or financial analysis or risk or whatever the back office function would be, we're handling that for you. And we're also giving you that support out in the field. So what that does is that really gives you the opportunity to go sell and to go drive your business, to grow your business. All right. So let's talk a little bit about training. So when you sign on with us, you will go into 3 weeks of initial training. And then that will be followed by 6 months of on-the-job training that we call Fast Track. So we kind of hold your hand that first 6 months of your business. And during this time, you have a whole team of people at Oklahoma City helping you reach metrics, certain milestones. You have your developer in the field assisting you. You have the assistance center in Oklahoma City that's answering any questions or any issues that you have. And then even after that 6-month period is over, you still have your developer, you still have the assistance center. The initial group, the fast track team, goes away, but that's because you're already acclimated and you don't have to have someone holding your hand or kind of micromanaging you, if you will. And you're free to be your own owner and drive your own ship. So you can see a couple of comments on here. One thing I would like to highlight is the Franchise Research Institute is a third-party company that will survey franchisees for different franchisors. And we go through rigorous audits to maintain our world-class franchise designation with them. And one thing that we're always really excited to say are two things. Is one, our training received a 99% satisfaction rating by our franchisees in 2021. It's world-class. It's an amazing. I've talked to people who've been through the best training sessions in the world. Some of the best salespeople have been through the best sales training. They say this by far ranks right up there with their world-class training that they received. So we'll be excited to take you through that. And also, even more exciting than that I like to share is about our franchisee validation. So we received a 98% satisfaction rating from our franchisees on how the model works. So if you call 100 of our franchisees, you're gonna have to talk to 100 to get one or two people who maybe, you always have a negative Nelly here and there. So really, I mean, I don't know of any other concept that has that kind of approval from their franchisees. And so we would definitely encourage you to go through franchisee validation. You're welcome to pick up the phone, call any of our franchisees. Most of them are available, wanting to talk to you, wanting to help. And so we will definitely get you involved in that. All right, well, I have thrown a lot at you, and I wanted to open up for a question and answer period. But definitely, if you're ready to get started, reach out to Stacy and Dave. They can definitely develop you and then do kind of a handoff to me, and we can start the process over here. So I'll place it back in Stacy's hands, and we'll see if there's any questions out there.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill. Can you stop sharing for a moment?
I will, yes.
All right, so let's take a moment here and let's do some Q&A. Bill covered so much. I'm like in information overload. Bill, I want you to reiterate the amazing programs you offered, the 25K and the 40K. And actually, I have a question. Do you offer any incentives for veterans? Because many of those that we support that are looking at business ownership are veterans.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, we are a member of VetFriend, and we will give you, if it's a new territory, we will give you 50% off your initial cost. Yes. So you can combine. Now, here's the deal. You can combine these two things. So we'll give you 50% off the franchise fee, and we'll give you also $25,000 back after training. How does that sound to all the veterans out there?
I know many on my list are veterans. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So that's for new territories. It's important for me to give a disclaimer that on resales, we waive the entire franchise fee of $40,000 on a resale. And the seller just builds that back into their sales price. And it's a transaction between the buyer and the seller. But for those new territories, absolutely, yes.
Great. What questions do you guys have? You can put it in the chat or raise your hand and I'll unmute you. You can ask it live. We want to make sure you leave here with all your questions answered.
Looks like Jeremy has a question.
Jeremy,
hey, thank you guys for putting this on. It's brief, it's concise, and it's the information that I'm looking for. How do you categorize your territories, Bill?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeremy. So we draw our territories off of several criteria. The first is the total number of jobs in an area. There has to be at least 30,000 total jobs. We like to typically triple or quadruple that amount. Just we want to make sure that it's a viable territory and that you're going to spend the entire tenure of your lifetime with us taking over market share. So we want to make sure that it works for both. There's also some other things we look at when we're drawing up these territories. We look at the competition. We look at the types of jobs that are being filled. And then we look at something that people don't often talk about. It's called the temp penetration rate. That's the percentage of the workforce that's a temporary or contract worker. Now, right now in the United States, we're hovering somewhere around 2 to 2.1%. And so we like for these territories to be around that or better, around the national average. So those are the criteria we put into when we're drawing up these territories.
How do you restrict the territories? In other words, I've got, I'd say, a rookie level, international level experience, most of it being in the US. And I'm very opportunistic when it comes to entrepreneurship. So, you know, if I receive an opportunity in Florida, but I'm in Washington State, how does that play into this?
Yeah, so if it's a direct hire position, then you can make that placement every day. It doesn't matter where in the world it is, and that's a direct placement. So that's like if a company needed a full-time manager,
right?
Then you can place them in there for a large flat fee, and you're not restricted at all. When we come up with, and I don't like to use the word restricted, I like to use the word protected because we're protecting you from other franchisees coming onto your turf and servicing your clients. And also, if you were in Washington and you had a temporary or contract position in Florida, you're going to need some help staffing that position. So you're going to need someone local there anyway to help, locate the people, place them in there, and then kind of be there for the associates to go someplace to interview and to maybe do drug testing or something like that if it's a light industrial position. So what we do is we have collaborative cross-sale agreements that you can come into with our other franchisees. So let's say, for example, if there's a client that you have in Orlando, he's a good a business associate that you've known for a number of years, and he lives in Orlando, and he said, hey, Jeremy, I'd love for you to place 30 assembly line workers out in my facility. Well, what you could do is you could call the Orlando owner there and go, hey, I've got some business for you. Would you like to help me place some positions? And then you would work out some sort of what we call a collaborative cross-sale agreement, and you guys can kind of split it. They can help you, source and process those people, and then you can make money off of the relationship between you and that business owner.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know that I buy into that 100% just because of how many contractors placing, outside of my local area, but I also like the word that you use, protected. So there's an advantage to that as well. So folks aren't necessarily treading on mine, and maybe they're calling me too and saying, hey, I got a business opportunity. So I like that. It seems well thought out. I'll let others ask some questions and I'll chime in when I have more.
Well, thank you for those questions. Those were great.
Who else has some questions? Feel free to unmute.
I just covered it. I covered it all,
I knew. See, you are the Energizer Bunny. Okay. Jeremy has a hand raised. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was multitasking, so I admit you may have covered this and I missed it. How do we structure our individual identity within Express? Is that through an LLC? Is that through do we become a 1099 of Express? Like how are we structured as an individual?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you would create your own entity. It depends on if you create an LLC or a C Corp or an S Corp, but you would sign as that entity, and but you would be doing business as Express.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so if you have other questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. You might be wondering, what's next? How do I get more information? I still have questions. So glad you asked. So as Bill said, connect with us. We're here to serve and support you and help you get the information you need. Maybe Express Employment is the right fit, maybe it's not. With over 4,000 franchises, we will match you. We'll match your skills, your interests, your resources, and your passion to a franchise that can be a great fit. But I think from what you've learned today, Express Employment Professionals is a great one to look at. The way you can connect with us is grab a day and time on our calendar by going to explore.nextlevelfranchisegroup.com. That'll take you to our calendar where you can grab a virtual coffee, and Dave and I will spend some time getting to know you, understand what you might be looking for as your next. And as you can see, our contact information is on the screen. Reach out anytime. We're always here to serve and support you. In closing out today's session, any other questions we can answer for you, either about franchising in general, business ownership, or Express Employment Professionals? All right, we've wowed them. So thanks, everybody. Thank you for taking your time to be with us today and learn about this exciting opportunity. Make it a great day, and we hope to connect with you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody. Yep.